Oh. What's up, everybody? How are we doing? Friday, April 25th here. How is it going, everyone? It feels like a while since I've been on here. I guess it's been 2 weeks because I was unwell. I was purging last weekend. So last weekend was a write-off. So yeah, I guess it's been a couple weeks since I've been here. So there was no live last week. And yeah, so it feels like a little while since I've hopped on here. If you guys are watching this live, say hello in the chat section, the comment section. Drop in, say hello. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know how your space is feeling. What the fuck is up? What the fuck is up, you guys? As I mentioned here in my on my Instagram stories, this is the last one of these that I'm going to do. This is the final YouTube live that I am going to do. Maybe I'll do them now and again in the future, but I'm just focusing my time and attention on other things. I'm eventually going to have a podcast launching. So this type content will end up being on my podcast and YouTube show. So I'm stopping doing these because I'm focusing on building that content. So if you have enjoyed these YouTube lives, tuning in for them, watching the replays, I will have a free content source, a content stream with this type of content, but it will be done through the vehicle of my podcast / YouTube show, which I don't know exactly when it's going to be launching, but probably sometime in June. And so that's where this type of content will be. So just to reiterate off the hop, for those of you who do tune into these or do kind of look to watch the replays, this is the final YouTube live that I'm going to be doing. This is the last one of these. Doesn't mean maybe in the future I might do one of these every now and then, but this is I'm not going to be doing these YouTube lives regularly anymore. So here we are. We are at the grand finale. We are at the final one. If you guys are watching this live, hit me up in the chat section, comment section. Let me know what's up. Let me know what's how you're doing. Say hello. Give me a little bit of a greeting. Show me that you have a pulse. Let me know what is going on in your space. Okay, so I'm just going to fucking get right to it here. Just hop right to it, Jamie. Just get right to it. Just shut the fuck up and get right to it. Okay, it's what we're going to do. We're going to hop right to it. We're going to skip right to it. We're going to do a little hopscotch and we're going to get right to the program here. Okay, so today I want to talk about finding the true value and currency of your soul and your spirit. The true value and the true currency of your soul and spirit, because that is basically what the epitome of a spiritual process is what is your value just without anything to offer, but as a frequency or a vibration or an energy. What is your value? What do you have to offer? What does your soul and your spirit have to offer? Right? So basically, a spiritual process is the unwinding, the unyielding process in your system of you yourself and your relationship to this aspect of yourself, but to allow this part to be exposed to the greater collective. And is that enough? Is your value of your spirit and your soul, is that enough for you? Do you feel you have so much to offer just as a frequency and an energy? We build up all these mirage and these masks and these identities are ways that we extort a sense of value. They're ways that we externalize validation. Some of the most very common ones, and I might even tell you guys a story, a personal story, about what this process has looked like in certain ways for me. But a really, really big mirage is your capacity to get shit done, your capacity to be productive. Think of the person with the loaded calendar, the person where you look on social media and they're always putting something out. They're always creating. They're writing a book, and then they're fucking doing a podcast, and they're in a constant state of productivity, right? And then if this person were to slow down or maybe have a 2-month period where they're just in stillness, they might start to like spin out and freak out a little bit. So a really, really common mirage or way that we don't actually feel that our true currency or soul or spirit has a true inherent innate value is constant productivity. Another really, really big one, and this was sort of the basis of this, is validation for your physical appearance or being fit, but being attractive, particularly in how it relates to how you exchange with the opposite sex. That you sort of live and die by needing to be validated that you're worthy because you're physically attractive, or the opposite sex is drawn to you or physically attracted to you, therefore you're worth something. Those are two of the biggest ones. Two of the biggest ones that are coming up. Another one might be just someone that is always able to, be the caretaker, take care of other people, be the strong one, being able to hold so much, being able to be there for other people all the time. That's another really, really common one. But this idea of needing to be physically attractive and constant states of productivity, those are like the two that really sort of are luminous in sort of my space. And I wanted to talk about the one of constantly needing to be physically attractive because I'm going to relate to this process that I went through. So when I really went through my spiritual initiation, the very beginning of 2021, it was such a physical experience where tons of crazy physical shit starts to happen. Your hair starts falling out, the hair on top of your head, the hair in your beard. Your body weight fluctuates. Maybe you lose a bunch of weight, you get really skinny, or you put on a bunch of weight and you can't take the weight off. All these different physical things happen because an ascension process is so physical. It's so in the body, which is why someone's not really going through this ascension process where they're just kind of cruising along in their body. They're kind of just just sort of cruising along in their body because it's such a physical process and experience. And a lot of what has to happen spiritually through this spiritual process, you have to lose the area that you try to extort a sense of approval and validation. To really go through a spiritual process, the area that you protect the most usually has to get taken out. So, for example, it could be an experience where the woman who is the caretaker, who takes care of everyone else, maybe what happens is she goes through a physical injury or an illness, and she doesn't have the capacity or strength in her body and her system to be able to play that egoic role, that conditional exchange of always being there for other people. So now her energy gets sucked back into her. And her ego can no longer go out there and sort of fit that role, that identity, sort of that mirage, that mask that I'm the strong one, that I take care of other people. So now what's happening is she's exposed where she protected the most. For example, what happened to me was I put on a bunch of weight. Ways that I found value based off my physical appearance years ago when I was in my 20s, that was taken away from me. What happens when you no longer get that approval and validation that you're physically attractive or the opposite sex is drawn to you and attracted to you? What if that goes away? What is your value there? And I realized when that happened to me, I was a scared little boy. I was a scared little boy who didn't feel that he was actually worthy of anything. It was this insecure, doubt-ridden, fragile, little sort of wounded baby human being underneath. That has to get exposed through a spiritual process. All the mirages that you create to find some type of approval and validation, the feet have to get swept out from under you. The woman who is in constant motion has to not be able to do anything. Something happens, her health goes under, Every single day she's producing, producing, producing. Now for 3 months, she can't do anything. Who is she if she's not producing? Who is she if she's not in a constant state of linear production? In order to spiritually ascend and move into this space of truly being spiritually embodied, you have to be exposed where you're the most protected. Where do you sort of create this postured sense of worthiness? Is it based off your body, right? If it's based off your body, you probably have to go through a period where you lose your body. You lose the way your body is used to looking, and you look into a mirror, and who are you without that perfect body? You're a woman, you need to produce all the time because that's the ways that your father validated you, or maybe your dad wasn't around. And so when you stop producing, now what happens is the void that you felt through the absence of your father begins to illuminate in your space. What happens as you no longer can get away in this area, so much shame comes to the surface. So much deep, 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 deep shame. What you're wrestling with is, what is the true innate value of my spirit and my soul? What do I really, really have to offer? Just in my energy, not through producing all the time. If you're someone who's used to the opposite sex, or being like, oh, that guy's hot or that guy's attractive, if all that goes away, who are you? What is your value as a man? What is your value to the opposite sex when you lose your physical appearance? And there is a spiritual process that has to happen to truly, because if we talk about being in this space of how can your soul and your spirit truly be of service, it means that you need to know the inherent value of your light, of the way that source moves through you. And it is not physical, it is frequency, it's energy. It's how people feel around you. It's how people feel about themselves in your presence. When all those mirages fall away, who are you? You're met with truth. You're met with the process of unlocking truth. So what might come up in that space is a lot of unworthiness, a lot of shame, a lot of fear, because your ego's like, ooh, I used to kind of really fuel the fire of my existence in this one way, and now the legs have been pulled out from under that. What is my value? And so much of what's happening as we talk about ego dissolving, which is a big process that's happening right now, we're trying to come into a space of currency of spirit. What is the currency of your spirit? Think about this, you guys. Remember when you were a little kid and you maybe had this acute sensitivity to you, this way that you could feel spirit and you could feel something deeper, but it always felt fragmented from your reality to some degree. You know, maybe in the quiet corners of your life, maybe when you're falling asleep, you would feel these parts of you, and maybe you had trouble falling asleep because you were feeling this acute sensitivity. It sort of feels, and it might manifest as like a really deep longing for something, which often really means it's actually really a deep ingrained sadness, a deep ingrained grief that we've always held in our space. What would that longing be? What would that grief be? I think it's really a longing for true union with ourselves. It's a longing for true union with our most pure and authentic spirit. And if you're like a starseed or a light worker or an acutely body sensitive person, you probably have felt this enormous sensitivity, this longing in your space from wherever you can remember. And it probably felt fragmented from your reality through your entire childhood and teenage years, your entire 20s. You probably felt fragmented from this part of you, where it sort of felt compartmentalized. No matter how great your friends were, you still feel like you didn't belong. There was some part of you that was there that wasn't really ever safe to come forward. And This is like the pure currency of our spirit. Think about when we're like a child and we're playing, and it's just an expression of light and radiance and almost God that's just coming through us through the laughter and the play. It was just about spirit. And then what happens at different points, we build up these different masks, we build up these different identities, we build up these mirages, we build up these different illusions because we're afraid of being exposed to ourselves, to other people. We're afraid that the true currency of our spirit is not enough. The true currency of our spirit is not enough. And so, if right now you're feeling in the energy a little bit of this existential dread or this confusion, or this, I feel sort of blah, or I feel unmotivated, or I feel everything feels empty, really what is happening is there's a vibration of the true currency of soul and spirit that's trying to come through, that's trying to break through into the ether. And it's sort of like that part of you that you compartmentalized as a young boy or a young girl. That part of you is trying to live infused through your pores and your cells as the expression and mantra of who you are. That you have created a level of safety in your body and your cells and your flesh for this part of you to live outward. And so maybe right now you're feeling really exposed, or there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of insecurity. Imagine the gauntlet that we have to walk to feel safe, to expose this level of truth through our body. Imagine the gauntlet of density, of fear, of survival trauma, of dense ancestral energy that we have to move through our body before it feels safe for this level of revelation of expression to come through us. Think about the gauntlet that we have to walk in order for that to feel safe. And so much of the purging and so much of the excavation process that has been happening is removing all the density that has created egoic sort of mirages to protect this currency of spirit that we never felt was enough. That part of us that when we really tune into, we're like, it's unconditional love. How's someone going to love that part of us? If I really, really, really show that true spirit, how's that going to be enough? How's that going to be enough? And so now our nervous system lives in a collapse or a shutdown because this sort of expression of who we really, really are is trying to come to the surface. But our system is like, ooh, like that feels threatening. That feels really, really exposing. I'm gonna be so in the wide open that the true spirit of who I am, it's going to be unavoidable. Everyone's going to be able to see it. It's going to be undeniable. It's going to be so pure. It's going to be so there. That's the part of us that's trying to come forward. But that part's been buried through a bunch of mirages. And the question to ask yourself is, what are your mirages? What are the ways that you lie to yourself? What are the ways that you lie to other people? And what happens here is these mirages create a postured ego expectation, right? You create a sense of entitlement. What happens is the way that you exchange with the world is through, I'm not seen, I'm not heard, the world fucking owes me something. I'm not seen, I'm not heard, the world fucking owes me something. Now we live in perpetual judgment and criticism of others because there's something in us. We're waiting for our payoff. When are we going to get our time? When are we going to get our turn? And so we create these illusions and expectations that there's an expectation that I should be given this, that this should happen into my space. A lot of this is the art of non-attachment too, or detachment. And a lot of this is the reason why this doesn't really manifest in reality is because you're being spearheaded by an ego that essentially we don't feel seen, we don't feel heard, and we never have been. We've never have been our entire life. That true, acute, sensitive part of you since you were a little boy or a little girl never felt heard. And so now you've gone through your life through expectation. Expectation is pedestaled from these mirages. Oh, the opposite sex finds me physically attractive. I'm in a constant state of production. Oh, I'm the strong one. I can take care of other people. I can hold all this stuff. And really what's happening is we're engaging with the world not in a clean way. We're engaging with frequency and energy not in a pure way. There's an expectation of something. Expectation, imagine it's like a postured pedestal from I'm not seen, I'm not heard. And I'm going to live in this postured pedestal. These expectations are the entitlement of ego. They're the entitlement of ego that I deserve something or this should happen to me. And really what the root of that is there's a longing with ourselves. There's a longing with ourselves. There's a part of our soul, there's a part of our spirit that has gone unaccounted for, that has lived severed and compartmentalized from ourselves. And we wonder why abundance doesn't come into our space from here. We're like, I'm doing all the right shit. I'm trying to draw this in. I'm trying to call this in. You imagine all the things you're doing. You create this sort of visual diary of I'm going to do this. I'm going to create this. But you realize there's a blind spot that's happening. That you are moving from a postured pedestal internal, severing from your soul and your spirit. There's actually a disconnection from that purest part of you, the purest offering, the true currency of your soul and spirit. The true currency of your soul and spirit. Think about when you're in that vibration of frequency of the true currency and soul of your spirit. You don't have any expectations. You don't give a shit in a really healthy way. If this doesn't work out, that's fine. You're already accounted for. That's what abundance is. When you're moving through that space, you are abundant because you're present. Expectation is we're living in some future tense of some entitlement. We're living in a future tense of some entitlement, and in that we're cutting the flow to true spirit and abundance. And we're actually operating in a space where we're holding a deep-seated resentment about something there's something that we long for, that we yearn for internally with our own soul and spirit that we haven't been able to arrive to. A level of connection, a level of union, a level of joy, a level of levity, a level of permission and allowing inside of ourselves that we haven't arrived at this. We haven't arrived at this part of ourselves. And so now we live with, oh, I have this expectation of this. Oh, I'm entitled to this because I've gone through this. And what we desire never arrives in that frequency, in that space. And so in this dissolving of your ego, what happens is you move into a space of total abyss and emptiness. It's wide open, empty space. And at first, your ego doesn't know what to do with it. You might feel a lot of grief about that. You might feel a depression about that. You might feel really blah and unmotivated. But what's happening, you guys, spiritually, in that wide open abyss where everything you thought is gone, every expectation you've ever had is gone. Everything that you've ever thought is gone. Now what's happening is there's a transmission of soul and spirit that's trying to take place in its truest form and its truest innate frequency. And so all the mirages that you have held on to have been shattered. That's why in order to find the true currency of your soul, you have to lose the area that you've held on to the most. Maybe you've held on to having to have the perfect body. Maybe you've held on to the compliments. This is, really common, for example, with men who have strong mother wounds, who are love addicts or sex addicts. They live off the approval and validation from the opposite sex. They live, that's their fuel. And when that's gone, they feel like a fragile little fucking boy. They feel like a fragile little fucking boy that has nothing to offer the world. You have to meet that part. You have to meet that part and sit in that. If you're a woman who your value is being so productive, you have to lose that. And so you really will notice someone's spiritual process. How much have they lost what they have needed to protect? How much have they lost the mirage that they have used to create a house of cards for their value and their worth? That's the transmission that's been happening the past 8 months. Who are you without every single mirage in the true innate value of your spirit? Who are you just in your value and your spirit? When you're like, you're a pure light of divine radiance, who are you just in that? Who are you just in that? Is that enough? Is that part worthy to be unconditionally loved by you and others? Who are you just as a vibration and a spirit? And so if you need to run off being physically attractive, you probably will spiritually. What's probably going to happen is you're going to go through a period of time where you feel ugly, where you don't feel like people are physically attracted to you. Who are you when people aren't physically attracted to you? What's your worth? What's your worth? When you're not getting those compliments, you're not getting those people hitting on, you're not getting you're not getting any of that. Who are you? And in the space, that's where your true currency is revealed. And oftentimes, you guys, what it means sitting with, you have to sit with yourself and like, I'm a piece of shit. And what it means is sitting with, I am a fragile, scared, terrified little boy or little girl. You can tell when someone sat with that part of themselves. Now imagine when you can sit in that part, but then you can also protect that part, advocate for that part, be able to be a warrior from that part. Think about what happens in your life when you're a warrior from the most tender parts of yourself, and you've sat in the most tender parts of your spirit, but you become a warrior there. It's like the tender warrior. It's like, you have this resilience and perseverance, but at the absolute ground zero part of your true spirit, you have moved into this unconditional love with yourself. Think about the precedence and standard this creates for when you relate to other people. And so what's happening right now is all this dissolving of ego. What it's trying to do is bring you to a space where you have nothing. And what that means, I don't mean this to be some sort of, existential, sort of fluffy, sort of weird mind fuck. I mean this in a very tangible way. This is what is happening. Who are you when you have nothing? What it really means, who are you without the mirages that you have relied on? Who are you without your postured stilts? Who are you as an innate vibration, frequency, and spirit? Who are you? This is why what happens when you move into, let's say, a sacred union, it moves so beyond the physical. You see each other right at the guts of the soul. The physical is merely a vessel to hold in home the palette of the soul's vibration. When you move into a sacred union, it's just all about spirit. I often teach in my work that we typically need to go through a karmic relationship rupturing, which essentially what that means, That is, you get a glimpse or the movie trailer for a window into what it is like to be truly unconditionally loved and seen at a really, really deep soul level. What that really means is we're wanting to feel that way internally within ourselves as an individual. We're wanting to feel safe to live in that vibration and frequency within ourselves as an individual. And this karmic spiritual relationship often gives us a window into it. It gives us a window. Ah, this person sees me, truly sees me in a way where it's so beyond the physical. They're like, you could gain 50 pounds and I wouldn't love you any less because it's about your soul. And in that, you're reclaiming something. That's why these relationships are so hard to let go of, because we feel that when we're letting go of them, we're letting go of a connection to some pure, unconditional part of ourselves. And we think we've lost it, but then what actually happens is now comes the true reclamation and reintegration process of truly housing and homing this sort of sense of unconditional love with ourselves through our entire form, through our entire body. And then when we eventually find that sacred union, it's that pure soul connection, but in a healthy container where the spirit timeline and the human timeline can merge and connect in a healthy way. In the karmic relationship, they see you, there's unconditional love, but the spirit timeline and the human timeline are at war. Really, what it means is the higher self is not ready to inhabit in the flesh yet. There's more purifying that needs to be done, there's more excavating that needs to happen. This is what we long for. We long for union with the true currency of our spirit and our soul, and to feel this part of us and to feel it with a lot of space, a lot of ease, a lot of pleasure. You guys want to know what happens when we truly arrive here? Humor, comedy. Most importantly, and this is going to land, you don't take yourself too seriously. You want to know why people fundamentally take themselves too seriously? Their ego is in protection of some aspect they don't feel seen and heard at a true soul level. So when you look out the spiritual community, why is everyone so intense about their own process? They are gridlocked and they are protected and clouded in ego. Do you guys understand that? Do you guys understand that? When we take ourselves too seriously, it's because we're clouded in ego. We can't give up something. When we take ourselves so seriously, it means we're longing and we're yearning for something internally. And we're serious and self-righteous about our process because we need something. We need some validation somewhere that we're not getting. Do you guys get that? Does that make sense? When you take yourself so seriously and you look at all people, do ayahuasca every weekend, I do my spiritual process. We need something. When you don't take yourself seriously, ego's gone. What it means is you've given yourself that thing that the seriousness was trying to create. You're free. You've already embodied and inhabited what it was that your seriousness was trying to create. And you look at all these people take these spiritual processes so serious, it's because of ego. That's directly and fundamentally the reason why. This is why the highest frequency and form of integration is pure joy, laughter, and comedy. When you're in a space of humor and creating pleasure and play through laughter and jokes and humor and comedy, but it's an expression of the freedom of your soul and your spirit. It's not a conditional exchange. I don't need anything from you. I already have it. I have everything. And you don't take yourself too seriously. You don't give a shit. Someone makes fun of you, whatever. You don't give a shit. That's integration. So when you look at all these people, why so serious? It's because they're longing and they're yearning for something. They can't see the joke. They're a part of the joke, right? And this is so much of the integration that's trying to happen. Can you be that freed up where you move beyond the struggle and the pain and the seriousness? That's what they say, like the cosmic joke is revealed. What that really means is you're in a pure, unfiltered expression of your true spirit, the true vibration. That's what integration is. That's my favorite type of comedy and humor. And that's when I know I'm in my most potent expression, is when we're in humor and comedy. It's coming through just a unique and an innate freedom within myself. Just a freedom of expression where my soul's just bursting, where my true spirit is just bursting from the seams. That's the experience that truly gives other people permission. But look at all the people that are so fucking serious about this. Their relationship to themselves is so serious. And again, you guys, the reason why they take themselves so seriously is because they need something. They need something and they're not getting it. And so this seriousness is the ego's pursuit of trying to get an acknowledgement for some part of themselves. For some part of themselves. And what it does mean is we're living in some type of mirage. We're living in some type of mirage and house on cards, postured sort of, I don't feel worthy. And what that energy feels like, you guys, is it doesn't feel truly clean. It doesn't feel truly pure. It feels a little bit dirty. Even with us and how we're exchanging from that energy, we can feel it doesn't feel totally clean and pure. There's some type of expectation, like we're searching for something in a wounded way. There's some part of us that needs to be validated. We need to be acknowledged. We need to be heard. And what it really means is we haven't created a safety with some part of our own sort of freedom of expression. And so that's why we take ourselves so fucking seriously. Because there's some part of us we haven't allowed to be free. Some part of us that we haven't given permission to just become undone and to live outward as us. And so if you're used to being physically attractive, you feel ugly right now, that's cosmically designed. And what it probably means is you're processing the shame that has lived underneath of that mirage that you have created. You're probably processing all the fear, all the anguish, all the terror, all the sadness, all the grief, all the shame that has lived underneath. You guys, what happens when you start to allow this true spirit to come forward? Your shame really, really does start to go away. And there's a level of authenticity and expression that just comes from you. And it feels pretty easy and ease-filled to just allow this expression forward. And it's like the energy and the expression that's emitting from you is so deeply true and authentic without any sort of postured expectation of anything. And if right now everything feels empty, you're kind of confused. Everything feels nothing. Everything feels empty. That's because all the mirages are falling away. That's because you're trying to find a union with that true spirit. You're trying to find a union with that true currency of your soul and your spirit that has never been safe to come forward. And so if everything feels like nothing and you're like, whoa, why do I feel so blah right now? Why do I feel so unmotivated? Why do I feel like I'm moving between feeling anger and grief and depression? Because all the ways that you've created these mirages to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged, right? And most people are living like this. We're living in a way where deep underneath, buried below the surface, there's some need for to be heard and acknowledged for something. And we're living through that deeply within ourselves. And what it really means, and this is why we take ourselves really seriously. This is why we have a really harsh inner critic. This is why we judge ourselves. This is why we criticize ourselves. Because there's some part of our spirit that's wanting to be freed internally. And when it does, for example, if you're an artist, this is where your art becomes an offering. Okay, I'm just going to be a vessel for some type of story to come through me, to something that I'm going to give to the. If you're a teacher, you're able to be a really, really clean mirror. You don't allow your own stuff to come into the transference. You don't allow your own agenda. You're present with the person. How can we be in service here in the highest intention of God and source? What this happens relationally is you can see things more of a neutral attachment. What is in the highest interest of God and both people? What is actually the highest order of truth here? How do I really, really feel? How am I in direct resonance with source about how I really feel about this person? Or what's the best way to go forward in this connection? Or what's the highest order of the divine here? And so your energy becomes really clean. It becomes really, really pure, right? It's very like a channel, medium, or a vessel. And what this feels like, you guys, when you think about your life, it's sort of like nothing comes. When you think about your relationship that you want to be in one day, nothing really comes. When you think about your career, nothing really comes. You're finally making art for the first time. What this actually means is you're truly moving into the unknown without trying to extort illusions of safety and control. You're truly 2 feet, totally in the unknown, making art with your soul and your spirit. This is so much of what this new earth paradigm or frequency is about. It's sort of about nothingness. What it's about, pedestaled and postured sort of ego expectations, when those get leveled, when all the mirages disappear and all you are is truth, and you as a divine specimen become a holy mirror to yourself and to others. And the energy that's going to move through you is going to be so pure, holy, clean, and pure. And this is where, in terms of your purpose, you can truly work in accordance with source. When it comes to eventually the relationship that's going to be right for you, you can truly be present to source. You're truly right here, feet in the soil. You're truly here. You're not somewhere else. You're not fantasizing. You're not building stories. You're right here. And you're present. And what's actually happened is that longing that you might have felt as a child your whole life is being integrated, right? That longing creates stories and fantasies, which creates a severing and a compartmentalization between the postured fantasy of the mind and the truth of your reality. When you find a unity and this union with both pieces, those stories don't come up as much. You're just right here. And you're pure in frequency. You're here. And you can't really see that far in front of you. So if you're actually losing your capacity to see what's in front of you, what that actually means is the ego is dissolving. That the expectations and the stories are being pulled down. That's what that means. And so what happens relationally is that's where you don't have a lot of access to romance in this sort of transmission, because your whole construct of love is shifting. Typically what happened is we sort of compartmentalized love. Like, oh, love is out there in searching for a relationship. But now this frequency of love becomes sort of like a cellular mantra. It becomes a mantra of your DNA. It just becomes the frequency that you just inhabit. And so now when you sort of think about romance, like, it's empty. There's nothing there. Even when you think about sexual endeavors, there's pleasure, but like even your relationship to sex is shifting. And you're like, what is going on? Everything that I thought was one, it's because a whole entire paradigm that was fueled off a postured ego projection is collapsing. An entire paradigm is collapsing. All the stories are unfolding or folding. You guys get that? You guys understand what I'm talking about here? Or does this feel like just like really existential sort of bullshit? Or do you guys who are listening to this, who are watching this, do you guys understand what I'm talking about? This sort of process that's unfolding here. Does this make sense of what this is about and what this transmission is? And so maybe even if you look on social media and you're like, I don't even know what's going on here. Like, fuck this shit. You're becoming awake to the game. And what I really feel frequency wise of where we're trying to go is really like, it's like pleasure, joy, ease, calm, ecstasy, comedy, laughter. Like, that's kind of where we're going. It's sort of like that experience where you can't stop laughing. And you're like, this whole thing's so fucking stupid. It's just, but like not in like you're a detached in an unhealthy way. And so if you look out at like traditional spiritual industry and you're like, what the fuck's going on here? Like I can't, I hate this shit. I got like, you're becoming increasingly disillusioned with a lot of what you see out there. And really what that is your spirit just craves levity. You see where everyone is taking their shit so seriously, you want levity. That's why I think this is the highest frequency. It's very much crown, but grounded crown energy. It's crown energy, but crown energy that's grounded with your entire body. That's really where we're going. And that is the true integration where everything's funny. Where and what that really means is you don't need anything. There's no more conditional exchanges, right? You have freed that little boy or little girl, the pure spirit that you always long to find union with. You have found a marriage with that spirit. And in that, your energy becomes really light. When someone's energy is heavy, yes, they might just temporarily be moving through density, and it's normal that our energy feels light, and then we move through more density, and we feel heavy, and then we integrate that, and we feel light again, and then more light, and brings up density because of the light that we feel safe to move in, that we start to move through more density. That is a process, but when we're really in this integration space, our energy is going to feel really light like a feather. It's not going to be heavy, heavy, heavy. When our energy's light, it means that we're really compassionate with ourselves. We're not critical. We're not judgmental of ourselves and others. We're in this very compassionate space where the ways that we really want to feel seen, heard, and validated are sort of just allowed to live through us. And we're the living expression of our own acknowledgement. We're the living expression of our own validation. And that happens through your energy. And it's palpable when you're in the presence of it. Because their energy feels so clean. In how it exchanges with you, their energy feels so clean. We're not going to live here all the time, you guys. It's not some fucking utopian space, but this is where things are trying to trend towards. This is so much of what's happening in this A lot of what might feel like right now is things might feel like a big void or a big empty abyss. And you're like, I don't know what I want to pursue anymore. I don't know what I care about. I don't know where I want to live. Like maybe you're asking yourself a lot of these existential questions. And really, just what that means is an old paradigm is collapsing and the new paradigm is forming. And we're still like a little uncertain exactly what it is and what it's going to feel like, even if it's coming, it's unfolding, it's birthing through us. It's birthing through us as we speak. And so maybe you feel a lot of like blah, or a lot of like you just don't care about anything right now. You feel like a lot of blasé, of like unmotivated, a lot of like fuck everything, fuck all this, I'm tired. What that just really, really means is there's a currency in your spirit that wants to come forward. And I think it doesn't want to take itself very seriously. Your soul and your spirit, it doesn't want to take itself seriously. And so if I can put on my sort of psychic hat, the currency of where I feel we're going is a lot of lightness. It doesn't mean we won't heal, but I think there's going to be a lot of, I think what's going to be really important is play, living, humor, comedy, joy, pleasure, giving yourself permission, allowing, being really gentle with ourselves, really being gentle with other people. I think that's where the energy and sort of the collective space and even the healing space is trying to move towards. Can we be light? I'm tired of taking myself so seriously. And this is why, even for myself, I've talked about doing what I'm doing in a different way. I think just what that means for me is embodying more of my inner jokester and comedian through my expression and offering of transformation, which means bringing a lot more of my creativity, art, and comedy into the very direct way that we facilitate transformation. And these are things I'm already doing, but that's how I feel my spirit as a teacher and practitioner is wanting to integrate sort of this. And I feel this is what people are craving. It's like we're kind of tired of just like the density and the fucking the slow oil of it. I feel that we've been in that. And I feel now we're trying to integrate to move into a very embodied crown energy that we can allow ourselves to live and play and allow an offering and currency of our soul and spirit. And so much of it is, can you allow who you really are to be exposed? Can you allow who you really, really are to be expressed? Can you just allow the true currency of your soul? That's your offering. And so maybe you're used to having the perfect body and you lose your body and you sort of surrender to that. And you know what's a crazy thing that happens is like, maybe your body's holding weight. The moment you actually truly surrender to that, your body probably starts just to shed the weight like crazy, because you're no longer protecting. You're no longer ridden with shame of that true part of you. You're allowing the true part of you. So now your body's like, I don't have to hold weight as this layer of protection that can protect this true offering of spirit that I didn't feel safe. Maybe people would invade boundaries. Maybe people would siphon the energy. Maybe I don't think it would be valuable or worthy, or people wouldn't like it. And your body just sheds the weight like water because you fully surrendered to that soul and that spirit. Or maybe you feel ugly, and when you truly surrender there, you start to feel more beautiful than you ever have been. But only by finally surrendering and moving beyond the fear of being ugly, or the shame of being ugly, or the mirage and postured sort of protection of I need to be physically attractive to be worth something. And when you sort of allow yourself to die and not being productive for a few months, not creating anything, not doing anything, just maintaining, not building your business, whatever it might be, doing way less, not trying to be friends with everyone, and you just allow yourself to recede and sort of die within yourself, you start to feel more connected than you ever have been. So you have to be exposed where you've been protected the most. And there's a very tangible process that happens at a spiritual basis where you will be exposed where you have been protected the most. And that is in service so that you can finally find true value, worth, and currency in your true soul and spirit. That's what's been happening. So you guys who have been watching this, listening to this, does that make sense, you guys? Does what I've been talking about here, does this land? Or does this feel foreign? Does this feel confusing? Or does this feel like it tangibly is you're able to decipher and understand what I'm talking about here? You can let me know in the chat section, in the comment section, if you're getting what I'm spitting here. Theme of my day, everything you're spitting. I love it. You guys are resonating with this. I figure if you guys are here, it means you're here because you're meant to resonate with at least something that I'm talking about. This is what's happening, you guys. This is what's going down. And so if you go on social media and you're disgusted by everything, you're disgusted by everyone, you're like, fuck all these people, you're right in the right place. If you're like feeling like, fuck everything, I'm done, I think what it means is you're done being heavy. I think what it means is you're done taking shit too serious. I think it means is your soul and your spirit just wants to fucking breathe. That's what it means. That's what that existential, I don't know how I feel about everything all of a sudden. Where did this come from? Right? And maybe you were pursuing certain things and you're second guessing them. Maybe it means you won't do those things and you're going to do other things. Or maybe it means you're going to do those things, but you're going to do it through a different connection to a frequency inside of you, right? Only you can determine what that is. Maybe what it means right now is just sitting in the space and not making any moves, but just allowing whatever's happening to integrate. That actually feels probably the most palpable and the most accurate for most people. If you're really vibing and resonating and connecting with what a lot of what I'm saying, I think it's just asking for us to get really quiet, for us to be still, for us not to force anything right now, and just to allow sort of the pieces to move and find their home with everything that's sort of shifting right now. That feels really, really true. But that's why we're relating to things as like an abyss. Like when you think about your future, you might be like, I can't even think about my future. And that really is a specific spiritual process that's happening. And it's a lot to do with an old paradigm collapsing, a new paradigm coming forward through you, which isn't fully here yet. And your egos being dissolved at such a level, all the projections, all the expectations are all dissolving, all the mirages that you have held on to find a false sense of value and worth is being challenged and being ripped out from under you. That's why you feel so vulnerable. That's why you're doubting yourself. That's why you feel so insecure. That's why you feel like, why is everyone looking at me? Why is everyone staring at me? Like, can everyone see what's happening inside of me internally? Can everyone see like this tenderness inside of me? Can everyone feel it? And it's because there's a transmission of something deep inside of you that's trying to pour through that you've never accessed before. And it's really your true spirit and soul without any of the mirages. That's really what's coming. If you guys have any questions or anything, you can pop them in the chat section. You can also ask your questions as comments underneath this video on YouTube. You can ask me a question on Instagram direct message if you have something. If there's anything in particular that resonated from this live, this transmission, you guys can pop it in the chat section, or you can reach out to me directly, whatever feels better for you. But if you have any questions or anything that really resonated, feel free to share or feel free to not share, whatever works for you. As I mentioned, guys, this is the final one of these YouTube lives that I'm going to do. Maybe not forever, but at least for a while. Maybe I might drop in with these occasionally in the future, but I'm going to focus on other things right now, like getting my podcast and my YouTube show up. So when my podcast and my YouTube show goes live, I don't know when that's going to be, tentatively sometime in June. that will be free. And so you'll have access to that free content, which will be delivered in sort of similar to this, but going to be different. You'll have access to that, and that will be like a weekly basis. So I'm kind of stopping these to focus more time and attention to building that for those transmissions to get that off the ground and out into the world. Yeah. So any questions, you guys, or anything that resonated, vibed, landed with you, feel free to reach out to me directly, or you can ask your questions in the chat section right now. You're welcome, Urzula. Thanks for being here, Ula. Thank you for everyone who tuned into this, for your time and attention. Hopefully some of what I talked about landed and resonated with you. Yeah, if there's no questions, I just wish all of you guys a great weekend ahead. Look at this, 1:11 p.m. There we go. We got the angels. Wish you guys a great Friday afternoon if you're in North America. If you're in Europe, it's probably nighttime. And if you're in Australia, it's probably really early in the morning. Okay, everyone. Wish you guys a great weekend. And bro, mad respect. Of AP, you're welcome, brother. Thanks for being here. Appreciate your presence. Much love, everyone, guys. Wish you guys a great weekend. And even though I won't be doing these YouTube lives, I'm still going to be dropping regular short video content on my YouTube channel. So you will still be having content on my YouTube channel. So if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so you can be notified when I launch new videos on my channel. So take care, everyone. Have a good weekend.